Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup. This is the show where we round up all of the latest news in the world of nerdy movies. This is a show that I committed to doing every week, and then I stopped for a while because life. I'm not going to elaborate much further. And you don't actually care. So let's just talk about the news, why don't we? We will start off with Avengers Doomsday discussion. So, Cinemacon happened last week. I'm not going to go through everything because, Jesus Christ, I'm not able to. But I will talk about the Avengers Doomsday trailer description that happened. If you don't want to be spoiled about Avengers Doomsday, then you can feel free to not listen to this portion of the stream, I guess. I will probably have timestamps. So let's start reading. The brand new footage starts with Robert Downey Jr. not in the iconic role of Iron Man, but as the green-hooded, metal-faced villain Dr. Doom, as he prepares to invade the multiverse. There is a shot of Professor Xavier Patrick Stewart looking out of his X-Mansion's window as a bright flash of light shines outside, signaling trouble. From there, it's a flood of comic book crossovers as Gambit, Channing Tatum, and Shang-Chi Simu Liu battle, and we have Mystique transforms into Yelena Belova, resulting in a Florence Pugh versus Florence Pugh fight. Then Thor and Doom face off, but Doom catches Thor's magical hammer, Mjolnir. What the fuck? What was that noise? What's happening? Okay, I think I stopped it? I don't know. Anyways, Doom catches Thor's magical hammer, Mjolnir, with his bare hands. Oh my gosh. However, the biggest moment comes when Chris Evans makes his triumphant return as Steve Rogers and reunites with Thor. The Asgardian hero is shocked at his Avengers teammate's arrival, given that Cap had gone back in time to grow old with his sweetheart Peggy Carter at the conclusion of Endgame. Plus, he passed down the Star-Spangled Mantle to Anthony Mackie Sam Wilson. It's still unclear how Cap is back, but he's clearly still worthy enough to pick up Thor's hammer, just like he did during the epic Thanos battle in Endgame. So, listen. It's about what you can expect from, what is happening? You know what? Whatever. I don't know exactly where that noise is coming from, but... Oh, okay. Okay, I think the noise should not come back, I don't think. Hopefully. Yeah, this is about what we expected from Avengers Doomsday. Like, the movie's basically just gonna be a bunch of action figures being smashed together. It's like, I'm kind of over, or I'm just no longer really at the point in my comic book movie fandom where hearing that a bunch of characters that I recognize, hearing that they're gonna all be in one movie, that's just not necessarily all that exciting to me. Or I should say, that alone isn't going to get me super hyped for a movie. But, I totally reserve the right to change my mind once, the trailer comes out. And maybe I will point at the screen and pog out and be like, oh my gosh, Shang-Chi and Gambit. Whoa. Oh my gosh, dude, Dr. Doom, he pinched his fingers or whatever, and he stopped Thor's hammer. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he's powerful enough to stop Thor's hammer, even though we've already seen that before in other Marvel movies. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a buzzkill. I'm just giving my honest opinions, and my honest opinion is that all that stuff by itself isn't really getting me into Avengers Doomsday. But hey, let me know what you think. All right, next story. Looks like we finally have our Christopher Dent in De Batman Part 2. And it looks like it's Charles Dance. After playing Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones, Charles Dance has found a new family patriarch to portray, as sources tell Deadline that the Game of Thrones actor is in talks to join DC Studios' The Batman Part 2. If a deal closes, he would join Robert Pattinson, who is set to reprise his role as the Caped Crusader in the upcoming sequel that Reeves is writing and directing. DC Studios had no comment on Dance joining the pick. While unconfirmed, it is believed Dance would play Charles Dent, father to Gotham District Attorney Harvey Dent, who will be played by Sebastian Stan. Scarlett Johansson is on board to play Dent's wife. I mean, that's pretty great casting. There have been a bunch of rumors of who might end up getting this role. Like, I remember at first it was going to be like Brad Pitt. Then it was going to be like Daniel Craig. I can't remember if there were any other actors that or who the other actors were that were rumored. I want to say there were a few others. And, if we're just talking about clout, not necessarily talent, but clout, Charles Dance is kind of a downgrade in that sense, but he's not really a downgrade in terms of talent. He is so good in Game of Thrones. Like, I just remember he stole like every single scene that he was in. I assume that he will be a very good asshole father to Sebastian Stan. Very, very curious to see exactly where Matt Reeves is going to go with that movie in general. Like, is he really going to go like the path of the Dark Knight, where we have Two-Face as one of the villains in the Batman Part 2? Or maybe he's just going to introduce Harvey Dent and he'll be just Harvey Dent for a movie or two, and then he'll have the tragic turn. We will see. But yeah. Let's move on to the next story. The guy who leaked The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, has been arrested. An arrest has been made in connection with the leak of the Paramount Plus film The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, Deadline has confirmed. A 26-year-old man has been detained in Singapore for leaking the animated film after accessing a media server without authorization. According to a report from the Straits Times, authorities seized various electronic devices, and the investigation revealed that the man had gained unauthorized remote access to the server and downloaded the film. If found guilty, the suspect could face up to 7 years in prison, a fine of up to $50,000 or both. Last week, a user shared clips on X of the unreleased film, claiming that someone from within Nickelodeon accidentally emailed it. The user seemingly was frustrated by Paramount's decision not to release the film in theaters and opting for a streaming release. He also threatened to post the entire movie if Paramount didn't release a trailer for Legend of Aang. So, I mean, I remember I saw that last week, and I obviously just kind of ignored it because I don't want to like watch a leaked version of the movie, and I didn't want to get it spoiled for me. Obviously it's an asshole move. Like, people have their thoughts on like movie piracy, and some people are okay with it, some people aren't. It's like, we can talk about rich, wealthy people and rich, wealthy corporations and whatnot, but it's like when somebody is spending tens of millions of dollars on a property and you just decide to like steal it and leak it, it is so much different and worse than just pirating a movie or something. You're just like literally potentially causing like millions of dollars of damage. So yeah, like I remember at first I was like, I don't know if, is 7 years in prison and, that big of a fine really worth it for somebody leaking a movie? And then I've heard arguments that have kind of made me go, yeah, kind of, I think. So anyway, crazy story. Because it sucks when things get leaked. Like, it sucks that I had to read the Avengers trailer description before just watching the trailer. It's like, in that case, obviously nobody's leaking the trailer, but it's like Disney, like, why are you releasing that information? Why are you letting spoilers for your movie and spoilers for your trailer permeate around the internet instead of just releasing the trailer after Cinemacon? So yeah, I don't know. It always sucks when things are out there. Like, I've already gone and like muted a bunch of Avatar related terms on Twitter so that things don't get spoiled for me. So yeah, asshole move by this guy. At first I thought it was maybe way too harsh of a of a sentence, of a punishment. But honestly, the more I've thought about it and the more of arguments I've heard from people, it's like not really. It's like this is the kind of behavior that you kind of need to discourage. So, anyways, let me know what you think about that. All right, speaking of Avengers Doomsday and now Avengers Endgame, we got some potential annoying shenanigans. So it looks like Avengers Endgame is getting DLC. It was announced during Disney's presentation at Cinemacon that Joe and Anthony Russo's theatrical re-release of Avengers Endgame will feature previously unreleased footage, but there was no signal of what the footage might entail. It's critically important to re-release the movie, and in fact, we'll be re-releasing the film with footage that is set in the Doomsday story that we have added to Avengers Endgame, Joe Russo told a packed crowd in St. Andrews. The veteran filmmaker was speaking via Zoom link after being held up in the States following the Cinemacon presentation in Las Vegas. It's an opportunity to create a bridge from Endgame to Doomsday in a very unique way, and because the movie was so successful, we have an opportunity to keep milking it. I mean, re-release it. You don't always get the chance to re-release because it costs money. So the fact that we can enhance the story of Doomsday by bringing it to Endgame and these characters that we worked with for years, that we love so much, and continue their story, it's a really unique opportunity. Joe continued to describe the upcoming Endgame re-release as a critical companion story and a setup for what you're going to watch in December when you see Avengers Doomsday. Okay. So, I'm definitely conflicted on this because it's like, yeah, on the one hand, part of me is kind of interested to see if, what the footage is going to be. Like, I mean, the easiest thing that I can think of is they're just going to show some of what Cap was doing after he brought back the Infinity Stones or whatever. Like, maybe show some of his life with Peggy, maybe show some of what he did that is theoretically, because I think the rumors are, or the reports, I can't remember if any of this is confirmed, but I know some of the speculation at least has been that Cap bringing back the Infinity Stones, that caused something with the multiverse that makes Doom big mad, and that's why he's going after them. Like, maybe show some of that you could do in Avengers Doomsday, or not in Avengers Doomsday, in the Avengers Endgame DLC. But also, it's also obviously just a very like cynical cash grabby situation where it's like I hope they're not putting critical information, and I hope it's not a situation where it's like it really behooves you to watch Avengers Endgame re-release in order to understand Avengers Doomsday. Like, they better not do that. It should just be something to where, hey, that was cool. If it's anything more than that, then it will be a little scummy. So we shall have to see and wait how that ends up. All right. Moving on to DC. It doth seemeth to beeth the case that Superman is filming. It is in production. So James Gunn put out this like set photo of like a chessboard. You can see sort of I forget what it's called, but like the clicker back there, the slate, I think it's called, with the Superman and Brainiac logo, which is kind of interesting. And then you obviously have like a Lex Luthor lanyard ID badge situation going on here. So clearly there's going to be a prison sequence here. I assume Lex Luthor is going to be playing like chess with somebody. But yeah, James Gunn says, from the set of Man of Tomorrow, shooting now. It's very fascinating to think about how how far we've come from like the DCEU, where we had Man of Steel, and then they just refused to make a Superman sequel. I mean, I guess Batman v Superman is kind of a Man of Steel sequel, or at least that's kind of what they sold it as, but it is so bizarre that they just refused to make, after Batman v Superman, they just refused to make a proper Man of Steel sequel. And James Gunn is just like, yeah, 2 years later, you're getting Man of Tomorrow. The bar is admittedly in hell, but I guess he deserves credit for that. For just making another Superman movie right after the last one. But anyways, I'm excited. I enjoyed Man of Tomorrow, or not Man of Tomorrow, Superman. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out. All right, next story. Keeping in the world of DC, potentially some weird, worrying news, kind of. So, okay. James Gunn, also on Instagram, he posted a little thing for lanterns. It's like a motion graphic. And it's, it says lanterns. It has the ring. It has Hal and John there in the middle of it. And it says only one can wear the ring. And I have questions. I don't know if this is stuff that's answered in the comics, which I'm not like the most familiar with, if I'm being completely honest. Aren't there multiple Green Lanterns? And don't we already know that there are multiple Green Lanterns because Guy Gardner exists? And Hal Jordan exists? I'm not sure what that tagline means. Are we saying that, like... Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely am not sure exactly what the angle is going to be for this show here, because obviously there is the whole dynamic in the trailer where it's like, you're old, you're tired, I'm better at this than you, just give it up, Unc. You're chopped. That's definitely the exactly what the dialogue was in the trailer. But it's like, just as far as I've known, that's never been a thing with the Green Lantern Corps, where it's like only one Green Lantern can operate in a zone or a sector or a precinct or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see what that is. This is also just very obvious teases that like Hal Jordan is probably going to die in the show. But it feels like they're teasing it so much that I feel like that's not going to happen. Something tells me that Kyle Chandler is not going to die in this, because they're making it very obvious if he is. But anyways, we'll see. Let me know what your speculation is on that front. Like, what exactly is the whole thing of only one can wear the ring? Do you guys think it's going to be a case that there can only be one cop or one Green Lantern, one cop for the precinct? How could that possibly make sense if Guy Gardner is involved in all of this? I don't know. Let me know. All right, next up. It looks like that live-action Gundam movie with Sydney Sweeney is in production. So, it says here, all units stand by. Production on the live-action Gundam film has officially mobilized in Queensland, Australia. It looks like we also have a plot synopsis. So it says, what is the live-action Gundam movie about? The forthcoming live-action adventure movie will bring the defining mech franchise to life with an original story that follows rival mech pilots fighting on opposite sides of decades-long war between Earth and its space former colonies. As shifting allegiances and a growing threat set them on a collision course for one another, reads an early description of the film, they're pulled into a high-stakes race across the stars that could define the fate of humanity. With awe-inspiring battles, intimate human emotion, and an epic, cinematic scale, this is a Gundam like you've never seen before. And we're excited to not bring it to you on the big screen because it's only going to be on Netflix. Okay. Look, I am not a fan of Gundam. Frankly, I don't think I've ever seen a Gundam-related piece of media. I'm actually not sure. Were they toys first, or before they were an anime? Or were they an anime first before they were a toy? I'm not even sure about that. I don't know the lore at all. So, I'm not going to act like I'm super excited about this, especially because it's a straight to Netflix movie. But, I'm always open-minded about such things. Speaking of Netflix stuff, gosh, I'm so good at segues. We have our title and our first look at the Netflix Scooby-Doo animated series. So this is the image that they released. You have Fred obviously at the top. I don't know who the actor is. McKenna Grace. She's the only recognizable actress in this cast. She's playing Daphne. Then we have somebody playing Velma and somebody playing Shaggy at the bottom there. We have not seen Scooby yet. You would assume that's going to be a fully CGI character. But you do see his little paw print on the door there. And it says, unmask everything you need to know about Scooby-Doo Origins. So Scooby-Doo Origins is the show. It says, production has begun on Scooby-Doo Origins, Netflix's live-action take on the iconic crime-solving crew, and it's going back to where it all began. So if we scroll down here, we also have like a plot synopsis. During their final summer at camp, old friends Shaggy and Daphne get embroiled in a haunting mystery surrounding a lonely, lost Great Dane puppy who may have been a witness to a supernatural murder. Alongside the pragmatic and scientific townie Velma and the strange but ever so handsome new kid Freddy, they set out to solve the case that's pulling each of them into a creepy nightmare that threatens to expose all of their secrets. So yeah, as far as this cast goes, we obviously have McKenna Grace as Daphne, somebody named Tanner Hagen as Shaggy, Abby Ryder Fortson as Velma, Maxwell Jenkins as Fred. Apparently Paul Walter Hauser is also in this, but we don't know who he's playing. I actually think that there's a lot of potential for a Scooby-Doo live-action Netflix series. Like, you know, when you look at how Stranger Things has done things, I haven't seen Wednesday, but from what I understand, it's like a obviously modern take on the Addams Family. It's like it's got kind of an edge to it. From what I understand, I feel like I could see a Scooby-Doo show that feels more modern, feels like it has like an edge to it. Not saying it should be edgy, not saying it should be Velma or anything like that. But you know, if it could have a little bit of a youthful energy to it. I'm trying to, again, like I've never seen Wednesday, but I feel like if it kind of felt like Wednesday, if you had like really charismatic performances like Jenna Ortega, and if it felt a little like genuinely creepy, kind of like a Stranger Things, and if you can really hit the nail on the head of it being palatable for kids, right? So that kids can watch it, but also mature enough that adults can get into it as well. I actually think that there is a lot of potential for a Scooby-Doo show. So my assumption is that most people are going to be very cynical about this, but I could see a Scooby-Doo show being really good and really popular. So we will of course have to wait and see if they can nail it. All right, next story. Ryan Reynolds is teasing how Deadpool is going to come back. So Ryan Reynolds confirmed in a Sunday Today interview that he's got some stuff already written when asked about Deadpool's return in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I have some kind of stuff written, but I don't think I am ever going to center him again. Reynolds said revealing Deadpool's life as a big screen main character might be over as far as Reynolds' iteration of the character is concerned. He is a supporting character. He is a guy who is great in a group. And then, you know, the article kind of goes on to explain how a few years ago, actually, Ryan kind of talked about how he feels like Deadpool shouldn't ever be like accepted, or he shouldn't be a part of the Avengers. Like, he should always remain as an outsider. And I think that's probably true to a certain extent. Like, you know, he kind of talked about how he feels like Ryan Reynolds' humor, or not, well, maybe Ryan Reynolds, but Slade's humor is much of like a defensive, like, coping mechanism because of his loneliness and him like feeling sad about him being an outsider. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of true that you can only tell that story so many times. They've obviously told it thrice already. It's like, do you really need to tell that story again for a fourth time? But if you like evolve the character and like have him be a part of a mainstream team like the X-Men or the Avengers, then you kind of lose who the character is. So I actually do kind of agree with him that, you know, if he doesn't have a good idea for a fourth movie, he shouldn't just make it just because they know that it would make a lot of money. But if you have ideas of putting him in other stuff and not having him be the main character, that could obviously be cool. I would assume that he's writing an X-Force movie. I mean, maybe there are other groups that or other characters. Maybe like he could appear in other character movies that I can't necessarily think of off the top of my head. But I would assume X-Force, right? Like there, Ryan Reynolds. I want to say he's been trying to get X-Force made for a few years, and I feel like after the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, he probably has the clout to just go to Marvel Studios and be like, "Hey, here's a script for an X-Force movie," and they're probably just gonna greenlight it. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for sure. Maybe it's just a Deadpool and Wolverine too, and Wolverine is more of the main character. Maybe he's showing up in a Spider-Man movie. Obviously, like that would make a bunch of money as well. So we'll see. I guess it could also be a Midnight Suns movie. Maybe. Do you think that could work? Because I know that's been a rumored thing as well. Could Deadpool work in a Midnight Suns movie, or would that movie have to be a little more like self-serious? I don't know. Lot of possibilities. All right. Going back to DC, James Gunn is elaborating on the Clayface trailer that we just saw release. So somebody asked him, James Gunn, I know Clayface is part of the universe, but is it more standalone or is every project right now part of a larger connected plan? Seated regardless. Just curious. James Gunn says, it's very connected, but as always, the standalone story is what's most important. He also mentioned in another Threads post, let me read this as well. James Gunn, is Clayface set before Superman or after? And James Gunn clarified, before. It's the first DCU film out of chronological order. So yeah, he's kind of clarifying some stuff that I feel like I already kind of knew just because I probably pay way too much attention to this stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you've seen, or I mean, like I want to say they've already confirmed like a year ago. I want to say that yeah, Clayface is a DCU movie. I feel like they've already confirmed that. But yeah, and if you've seen Creature Commandos, Clayface is in that, and he is a fully developed supervillain. So yeah, like if this story is a Clayface origin story, then it has to take place before Superman, and it has to take place before Creature Commandos. So yeah, I think all that makes sense. I think it's all really cool. Like I really dig that you can have a character like Clayface show up in in a hard R like comedy action whatever series in Creature Commandos, and then he can be in a more serious horror film that's obviously going to be a lot it's going to take itself more seriously. It's going to have deeper themes or whatever, although not to diminish Creature Commandos necessarily, but it's a completely different project, and it's really cool that we're already establishing that Clayface can be in a Creature Commando show where he's just kind of like this monster that's like playing video games or whatever. He can be in that, and he can be in this live action horror movie, and it hopefully kind of works. It's also very interesting. So he's saying that Clayface is going to be very much connected. What does that mean? Are we going to see like Clayface setting up, the DCU Batman movie in maybe a more meaningful way than we would have expected? I mean, I do think that Clayface is obviously going to establish what Gotham is going to be like. So that's definitely going to do some stuff. Like, are they going to introduce like prominent Batman characters? Like maybe they introduce a James Gordon who's having to deal with Clayface. Maybe we see like certain politicians like Harvey Dent or something like that. I could see something like that happening. Maybe they just flat out introduce the DCU Batman. I don't know. Like, would James Gunn do that? Like, would he introduce the DCU Batman in a Clayface movie? I kind of think he would. Like, he's already doing so many unconventional stuff with the DCU. Like, literally just the fact that we started with Creature Commandos and we're following up Superman with Supergirl and Clayface. Like, that's already so weird. It's already so clear that James Gunn is kind of just making whatever project is ready. Like, he's clearly not all that concerned with, doing stuff in the way that makes the most sense in order to maximize ticket sales. It's like, obviously, if he was super obsessed with that, sort of thinking, he would have just, followed up with a Batman movie and rushed that movie out and rushed a Wonder Woman movie out. But literally the fact that Clayface and Supergirl had their scripts ready earlier, and he was like, screw it, we'll just make those next. Like, that mentality leads me to believe that if Mike Flanagan, who wrote the script, included Batman in a way that was significant and important to the story, I don't know, I feel like James Gunn actually would introduce the DCU Batman in this movie. So we'll see. I also kind of think that if that was the case, we probably would have heard about it by now, at least from like reports. So maybe not. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what it means. I'll say one thing that it just generally speaking means is I do think that this Clayface movie establishes and sets the stage for how the DCU Batman is going to differentiate itself from the Robert Pattinson Batman, because it's been like the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to the DCU is how the hell is it going to work having two live action Batman at the same time? And I do think that the Clayface trailer shows us why that, or at least how they're going to try to make it work. And it is because they're going to feel incredibly different, because the DCU Batman is fighting clay monsters, probably going to fight giant crocodile monsters. He's going to be fighting, zombified Court of Owls creatures. He's going to be fighting immortal Ra's al Ghul's. Like, my assumption is that the DCU Batman is going to lean all in on the comic booky, sci-fi, fantasy nonsense. And I would assume that Robert Pattinson Batman and Matt Reeves, he's going to dive even deeper into the realism. Like, I don't think Matt Reeves' Batman is going to have any sense of like supernatural elements. Like, I don't think we're going to see, like, I know people really want to see what is it, like Mr. Freeze, I think, in the Batman universe. Like, I don't think that that's ever going to happen. Honestly, I'm dubious I don't know that we're even going to get Robin in a Matt Reeves Batman movie. Like, I could see even that being too fantastical. Like, maybe he adopts a Dick Grayson, but like, are we ever going to have a child Robin? I highly doubt it. Like, I feel like that's probably something that they're going to leave for the DCU. So I think we're already sort of setting the stage to see how they're going to possibly justify having two Batman franchises running at the same time. But yeah, we will have to wait and see exactly how it works. All right, next story. The Boys franchise has kind of hit a bump in the road because Gen V has been canceled after 2 seasons. Anchor The Boys is not the only live-action series in Prime Video's superhero franchise that has come to an end. Spin-off Gen V will not return for a 3rd season. While Gen V is over and Mothership The Boys is ending its 5-season run on May the 20th, the franchise continues with spin-off Vought Rising, which is set to debut in 2027. While we wish we could keep the party going another season at Godolkin, we're committed to continuing the Gen V characters' stories in The Boys Season 5 and other VCU projects on the horizon, said VCU executive producers Eric Kripke and Evan Goldberg. You'll see them again. In addition to Vought Rising, The Boys Mexico remains in active development. And then I guess I should probably read this other paragraph here. So this seems like deadline speculation as to why the season was canceled. So it says, Gen V got off to a hot start, earning a Season 2 renewal midway through its Season 1 run. The series... I thought there was a paragraph talking about the viewership numbers of Gen V. Anyways, sorry. Maybe it was another article I was reading. I was reading an article that was basically talking about how Gen V season 2, like, it started off pretty strong in terms of viewership, and its premiere week it landed in like the top 10 streaming charts, the Nielsen streaming charts, and then it was never able to recapture that again. So it does seem like season 2 viewership ended up tapering off. Look, I enjoyed Gen V seasons 1 and 2, but and it's not even just Gen V. I also feel this way about The Boys, where it's like, I don't know how much more gas this franchise has in its tank. It's like, listen, I love the show. I thought it was fantastic from the beginning, and I still enjoy Gen V, even season 2. But it's like, well, all I'll say is that the whole thread of Homelander, it's like, that really does need to wrap up. And to be fair, it is wrapping up with this season. And whatever comes next, it needs to feel fresh and different. You know, I know we are getting that Vought Rising prequel series, and that could have maybe feel different because it's like obviously a prequel series set in like World War II or whatever. So that might have a different vibe. But whatever The Boys Mexico is, it does need to feel fresh. It needs to feel completely different. And I don't know exactly what that means, but I do think that Gen V maybe did suffer from some of the fatigue that I feel like we've all been feeling with The Boys, where it's like, all right, I feel like we get it. Homelander bad, Vought bad. You know, when are we going to wrap up this conflict between Butcher and Homelander? We get it. He's this massive threat. He's taking over the world. There's only so much material to mine from this. And I like season 5 so far. I'm glad that it's wrapping it all up. I think it's wrapping it all up in a satisfying manner. But yeah, it's like, I don't know that I would have been like super excited and amped for a Gen V season 3. Because it also does add the wrinkle of, how many seasons are you going to have with them in college? It's like, they're all like 35 years old or whatever. So it's like that show already kind of had a timer on it of like, how many more seasons realistically can you have for them in college? So yeah, it's disappointing in a certain sense because I do like those characters, but I also can't deny that they're intrinsically tied to the story that The Boys has been telling with Vought and Homelander and the whole conflict. And it is a storyline that I'm broadly fatigued by and that I want us to move on from. So I can't say that I'm all that disappointed at the end of the day. And, you know, Vought Rising and The Boys Mexico, whatever those shows end up being, if they want this franchise to continue, they need to feel different and they need to feel fresh. So we'll see. All right, last story of the day. It is the title story of the stream. It doth seemeth like Gina Carano is potentially coming back to Star Wars. So she said in an interview with Ariel Helwani, apparently, because she's fighting Ronda Rousey in that in that Netflix MMA thing. So she says, I have already had a conversation with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. We got on a Zoom call. It was really nice. Dave is taking over as CEO of Star Wars. We didn't miss a beat. Jon Favreau got on Zoom and was really funny. He was like, so, where did we leave off? So, Gina Carano is confirming that she has had talks with Dave Filoni, who is now the CEO of Lucasfilm, and Jon Favreau, and they were pleasant. I will say, though, I'm not really sure where could we see Cara Dune show up in Star Wars? Because are we going to get another season of The Mandalorian? Probably not. I mean, if they're pivoting to the movies, you know, if The Mandalorian and Groglet, if that movie makes money and gets a sequel, then obviously we could see Gina Carano show up in The Mandalorian and Grogu 2. But let's say Mandalorian and Grogu performs like middling at the box office. I don't necessarily think we will see Disney turn around and just make another season of the TV show, because it kind of seems to be the case that Disney's mentality is leaning away from super big and expensive Disney Plus streaming series. Like, when you listen to Tony Gilroy, especially talk about Andor, he kind of talks about it in a way of like, yeah, we're probably never going to get another streaming series like this with this massive scope, with like the practical sets that they built and yada yada yada. Like, he really does talk about how Kathleen Kennedy really had to fight to get the budgets for Andor. And when you look at how Bob Iger made the decision to not make a season 4 of The Mandalorian, but rather pivot to a movie, I think it's because the streaming bubble has kind of burst, and there's no longer really the drive and the incentive to make these massive streaming shows, because they're realizing that there just really isn't the return in subscriber or in subscriptions that can really justify them at this point. And I do think that it's why we're seeing Disney, especially on the Marvel front. Notice how we're now, they're not doing yearly seasons of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which are these big, blockbuster type shows. It was recently reported that, or Brad Winderbaum confirmed that one of their highest viewed shows was actually She-Hulk, surprisingly enough. They're not doing new seasons of She-Hulk. I think it's probably because it's really expensive to have a fully CGI main character. But yeah, we're getting new seasons of Daredevil Born Again, a show that is probably like relatively inexpensive to make because it's just, Charlie Cox in a suit jumping around doing flips. We're getting another season of Wonder Man, right? Obviously a very inexpensive season to make. We'll see what the scope of Vision Quest is. We'll see if that's more of like WandaVision than it is like, I don't know, like a big show with big CGI battles and whatnot. But I say all this to say that it kind of seems like Disney is moving away from spending big money on TV shows in general. And yeah, like The Mandalorian is an expensive show to make. And I'm going to point this out. I'm just going to put this out there. I would argue that if you're not going to go all out with a Star Wars TV show, don't even bother. Like, am I wrong about that? If you're not going to do the Andor treatment, where you're going all out, you're building sets, you have this grand epic scope and scale. It's like Star Wars is such a, or I don't know how valuable it is anymore, but I feel like you should be making sure that Star Wars feels special. Whenever you get a Star Wars TV show, it should feel grand in scope. And so, sorry, this is a big tangent to say that I don't know that there is going to be a Mandalorian show for Gina to return to. I feel like unless The Mandalorian and Grogu does big money, I don't think we're going to see a TV show. I think the only way we're going to see more and a Mandalorian project that Gina Carano could potentially return in, I feel like it's only going to be in a Mandalorian sequel movie. Because then it begs the other question. Do we bring back that Rangers of the New Republic show? I don't think so. I don't think that, that's going to... It doesn't seem like Disney is super interested in spending money on new Star Wars shows. Now, we'll see what Ahsoka looks like. Because they obviously greenlit Ahsoka. That's a TV show. That's not a movie. We'll see how cheap that show ends up looking like. Hopefully we'll get some confirmed money on how much they spent on it. But yeah, aside from that, like, what other Star Wars projects are coming out that are in that era, right? The only other thing that we know about is Starfighter. That's set post Rise of the Skywalker, which Gina Carano's character, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be like way too old for Gina to play her in any of that. Like we also have like that James Mangold movie, but that takes place way before the era of the Mandalorian. Again, we're talking about Ahsoka, but that shows you would assume is completely done filming, so Gina's not showing up in that. So yeah, look, I guess I'll talk more specifically about Gina now. I personally have no issue with Gina Carano coming back. I think she's kind of a brain broken, Twitter obsessed, weirdo. But like, I don't care. Like, or I'm just not one of these people that when I hear an actor just have like political opinions that I disagree with, I'm not like out here trying to like ruin their careers and get them fired off of whatever movie or TV show they're doing. I think it's pathetic and cringe whenever like, they try to do that with Rachel Zegler or Brie Larson, or even in the case with Gina Carano. Like, I don't think she should have been fired off The Mandalorian. Like, obviously what she said was really dumb. Like the idea that being a conservative in the United States is comparable to being a Jew during the Holocaust is just like the most deranged nonsense of all time, right? But like, I don't care. It doesn't impact her playing Cara Dune. Like, I can separate the art from the artist perfectly fine. So I do think that she shouldn't have been fired. And I'll be open, I'll be fine with her showing up in something in the future. I just don't know what that's going to end up being, if it is going to be anything at all. So yeah, let me know what you think about the situation in the comments down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.